As a young man, I was terrorized by recurring nightmares, many involving a specific female entity. I wasn't raised in a religious household, but for lack of a better term, I would describe her as a demon. This torment went on for years and years, lasting well into my 20s, until one night, I finally had enough and decided to fight back. This is that story. Halloween is almost here, and this is my favorite time of year, so I thought I would share something with you guys that I've never shared with anyone before, one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me in my life. Like most young kids, I had a very overactive imagination. This led to some intense experiences during the night, from shadow people to a creepy life-size doll my sister had walking around my room, to monsters crawling up the foot of my bed during frequent episodes of sleep paralysis. But it wasn't all bad. I had a few recurring characters that would pop up in my dreams quite often, like the friendly whale who'd give me life advice as I walked through an indoor water maze. But one of these recurring characters stood out from the rest, a woman with purple lipstick who would sit on the edge of my bed and talk to me. Like the whale, she started out non-threatening, almost maternal in nature. But as I grew older and hit puberty, this changed. She began to use my newfound interest in girls as a way to torture me, tricking me into getting close to kissing the variety of females she posed as, lulling me into a false sense of security before morphing into a monster and biting my face off. Like blood in the water, as soon as she smelled this vulnerability, this happened. Though she took on many forms, I always knew this monster was the woman with the purple lipstick. She had a very distinct energy, and this happened over and over, night after night, for years and years and years. No matter how much I tried to wake myself up, I was powerless to resist her temptations. This happened several times every week, and even after she ripped my face off, I'd often wake up in my bed thinking I was safe, only to realize I was still asleep and at the beginning of a new nightmare. Fast forward about a decade and I'm a typical working stiff, and yes, I looked this cool, living in suburbia with my girlfriend. The whale was long gone, and now that I didn't have to sleep alone anymore, most of the nightmares were gone too. Over the years, I taught myself some tricks to escape them. For example, I'd bite the inside of my cheek, and if it hurt, I was awake. If it was numb, I was in a dream. At which point, I would dive straight backwards, falling through a void, and the weightless sensation would jolt me awake. But despite conquering most of my nightmares, the woman in the purple lipstick persisted, still tormenting and attacking me on a weekly basis. She'd take the form of my girlfriend, tricking me into getting close enough to pounce, and I fell for it again and again and again, until one night when I'd finally had enough. As I entered the dream world, that familiar feeling of dread began to form in the pit of my stomach. There she was, beautiful as ever, tempting me, teasing me, and even though I knew what was coming, I leaned in for the kiss. And that's when I snapped and turned into something I never knew was lurking deep inside me. I transformed into some kind of beast I can only describe as a werewolf and tore this demon to shreds, ripping her apart in an orgy of violence and blood. When I woke up, I felt great. I'd finally fought back, and to my delight, I never had another nightmare about the demon again. But that isn't where this story ends. Fast forward another decade, and now I'm in my 30s, still looking this cool, and after coming home from work one day, I sat down on the couch and started thinking about the woman in the purple lipstick. I'd managed to forget all about her, and realized she hadn't crossed my mind in years. I laid down to go to sleep that night, oblivious to the fact we were about to be reunited. When I entered the dream, I found myself walking down a long, endless hallway with many, many doors, and when I looked into one, I could not believe what I saw. There she was, casually sitting at a bar with a Phantom of the Opera-style mask on. Initially, I was terrified, but I quickly got the sense she meant no harm. And as she slowly lowered her mask, revealing the damage I had done to her, I felt as if she was simply happy to see an old friend. My initial shock and horror soon turned to feelings of disappointment and sadness. This demon who had terrorized me for years now struck me as kind of pathetic and lonely. I woke up in disbelief at what I just saw. It was kind of like running into your old high school bully years later and realizing they've become a sad shadow of their former self. And that was the last time I ever saw her. If anyone watching this has ever experienced something similar, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I'm not claiming this was something paranormal, but if these were just dreams, they were the most realistic, terrifying dreams I have ever had. Thank you for watching, and happy Halloween.